Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream Sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream Queen Size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal Queen Size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to MyPillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. MyPillow.com. Promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Welcome in as we start another week, and not just any week, but Holy Week. Glad to have you with me. A man has been arrested after allegedly setting fire to the Pennsylvania governor's mansion as Governor Josh Shapiro and his family slept inside early Sunday morning. We have the latest details on that. The state of Arizona is set to begin removing as many as 50,000 non-citizens from their voter rolls following a lawsuit that was won by the America First Legal Fund. The Department of Government Efficiency has launched their latest project, and they want to hear from you. They want to know what government regulations you'd like to see disappear. You're going to have a chance to weigh in with a new app that's being rolled out. Speaker Mike Johnson says he's no big fan of the rumored idea to raise the top tax rate, saying he wants to lower taxes for everyone, not just the wealthy.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
A man was arrested yesterday for allegedly setting fire to the Pennsylvania governor's mansion as Governor Josh Shapiro and his family slept early Sunday morning. At a press conference yesterday, authorities named 38-year-old Cody Balmer as the suspect. Balmer will be charged with attempted murder, terrorism, aggravated arson, and aggravated assault against an enumerated person. Pennsylvania State Police Lieutenant Colonel George Bivens told reporters at a news conference yesterday that Balmer had hopped a fence before the incident, which took place around 2 a.m. The suspect also made homemade incendiary devices. He said the official explained he actively evaded troopers who were here to secure the residence. While we were searching, when he attacked at the residence, he broke in and set the fires. Now, I don't quite understand how this happened. I mean, I've never been to the Pennsylvania governor's mansion. I've been to the South Carolina governor's mansion. And I don't know how anybody would ever even get close enough to set Governor Henry McMaster's home on fire. There's so much security. There's walls you have to get over. The fire broke out, as the story is told, overnight after Shapiro, who is considered a potential presidential contender as a Democrat candidate in 2028, his family celebrated the first night of the Jewish holiday of Passover and was in the bed asleep at 2 a.m. At the news conference yesterday, Governor Shapiro denounced the arson in a very emotional speech. He said, "This kind of violence is becoming far too common in our society, and I don't give a damn if it's coming from one particular side or the other, directed at one particular party or another, or one particular person or another. It's not okay, and it has to stop. We have to be better than this." Earlier on Sunday, Governor Shapiro posted on X that he and his family awoke at 2 a.m. to the police banging on their door after an arsonist set fire to the mansion. He said, "Thank God no one was injured and the fire was extinguished." Shapiro wrote, and he said, "Every day we stand with the law enforcement and first responders who run towards danger to protect our communities. Last night they did so for our family, and Lori and I are eternally grateful to them for keeping us safe." No one was injured, fortunately. The fire was extinguished, and officials said that the fire caused significant damage to a portion of the residence. Some of the photos that have been posted look like that it almost just completely burned a couple of rooms. It's just crazy. Again, I don't know how he ever got close enough to the governor's mansion to actually set it on fire. The White House is gearing up for an extraordinary celebration this week, of course, Holy Week. President Donald Trump released a statement yesterday. He's participating in a number of events to celebrate and honor the holiday. The new White House Faith Office organized a whole week of Holy Week activities this week. Jennifer Korn, Faith Director of the White House Faith Office, said the newly created White House Faith Office is grateful to share that President Trump will honor and celebrate Holy Week and Easter with the observance it deserves. Throughout the week, we'll distribute a Holy Week proclamation, a special presidential video message, and host a pre-Easter dinner and White House staff Easter service. Korn said it will be a special time of prayer and worship at the White House to be shared with Americans celebrating the week leading up to Resurrection Sunday. On yesterday, the president issued a presidential Easter proclamation. Later today, the president is expected to release his Holy Week video and will host an Easter dinner Wednesday evening. The dinner will feature hymns from the Marine Corps Band, the Christian opera singer Charles Billingsley, prayers and remarks from President Trump, too, as well. Christian pastors, priests, and faith leaders are expected to attend the dinner along with the president. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt and Pastor Paula White said that a number of pastors from around the country from various Christian faiths will be present. On Holy Thursday, the president is expected to host a staff worship service at the White House where Reverend Franklin Graham, Pastor Greg Lowry, Pastor Jensen Franklin will participate in prayer, scripture, service, and communion. During the service, an ensemble from Liberty University will perform worship music as well. Leavitt said President Trump promised millions of Christians across the country that he would create a White House Faith Office, and he delivered on that promise. The White House Faith Office has put together an extraordinary week-long celebration for a Holy Week ahead of Easter Sunday. Leavitt stressed that this is another sharp contrast with the previous administration. Leavitt noted that last year, and this is, I remember this, it's hard to believe that this took place in the White House, but she pointed out that the Biden White House marked Easter Sunday, which fell on March the 31st of 2024, and it happened to be, calendar-wise, Transgender Day of Visibility. You remember this? This is just another example of how far we have come. So last year, and the White House released this as a reminder of a statement that the Biden White House released last year. It went like this. On Transgender Day of Visibility, we honor the extraordinary courage and contributions of transgender Americans and reaffirm our nation's commitment to forming a more perfect union where all people are created equal and treated equally throughout their lives. Now, wow. That was part of last year's Easter celebration under the Biden administration. It went on to say, today we send a message to all transgender Americans. You are loved, you are heard, you are understood, you belong, you are America, and my entire administration, I have your back. Now, therefore, I, Joseph R. Biden, Jr., President of the United States, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Constitution, do hereby proclaim March 31st, 2024 as Transgender Day of Visibility. Now, that's what the Biden administration was doing last Easter. Fast forward to this year, and President Donald Trump has created a whole new faith office in the White House, and they're honoring and they're celebrating and they're praising the whole reason of Easter. At the time last year, Leavitt, who was serving as Trump's campaign national press secretary, she blasted Biden's proclamation as appalling and insulting, calling it an example of the Biden administration's years-long assault on the Christian faith. Well, folks, we can proclaim this week, this Holy Week, that's behind us. Those days are behind us. Joe Biden is retired. And if we do our work, and if we do what we're supposed to, we won't have to deal with that again. If we keep the faith, if we keep working hard to to win elections next midterm, if we add to our majority in the U.S. House, if we add to a majority in the U.S. Senate, and we start working now to lay the foundation to win the White House again when President Donald Trump's term is up, we don't ever have to worry about another Transgender Day of Visibility being declared on Easter Sunday. Wow. I wish I hadn't even read that. I wish I hadn't been reminded of what we were doing this time last year. It's going to be a good week this week, though, as we honor what this week represents. Be sure and take a few minutes and reflect on your life, reflect on what Jesus Christ did for you and me. And that's why we're able to have the freedoms that we have today. Hi, Joey Hudson here. You know, this spring there's a renewed energy and focus on efficiencies, and shaking up unhealthy habits don't serve us well. There's so much chatter about making America great again, but it starts in your home with you being the best, healthiest version of yourself. And PhD Weight Loss is doing their part because for the first time ever, the first 11 callers get 2 free weeks added to your weight loss program. That is huge. PhD's out to prove that you don't need Big Pharma to reach your goals. It just creates dependency, not long-term change. Dr. Ashley Lucas researched weight loss trends for years and discovered a scientifically proven way to retrain your body to burn fat efficiently without hunger, extreme exercise, or dangerous medications. PhD clients watch their belly fat disappear, their energy skyrocket, cholesterol and blood pressure normalize without starving themselves. I lost over 30 pounds and I've never felt better. So call now and mention promo code Joey for my 2 weeks for free with my program. Call 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900 or go to myphdweightloss.com. One more thing on Easter before we move on to the news of the day, and we have a lot of breaking news today. A secular primary school in England is in the news over the weekend after they faced a backlash from Christians after it canceled its annual Easter parade and service to create a more, quote, inclusive environment. Around 50 Christians gathered outside of Norwood Primary School in Eastleigh, Hampshire, to protest the school's decision. This according to the Telegraph. Protesters from the Disciples of Christ Church held signs that read, "Christ is King," "End the persecution of Christians," and "The one true faith." They also held a banner that read, "Head teacher Stephanie Mander wants to cancel Easter. Let's cancel her." Mander reportedly sent a letter home to parents informing them that the school's Easter bonnet parade and Easter service would be canceled to make sure that all beliefs are respected. Her letter reportedly said, "By not holding specific religious celebrations, we aim to create a more inclusive atmosphere that honors and respects the beliefs of all our children and their families." According to the Telegraph, Mander's letter said she sympathized with the families who would be disappointed by the decision, but believe canceling the Easter celebrations better, quote, aligns with our values of inclusivity and respect for diversity. Evidently, England still has DEI. And they're still going through the cancel culture. The letter went on to say, "We're exploring alternative ways to celebrate the season in future years that will be inclusive of all children and reflect the rich cultural diversity of our community." Now, students will still learn about the religious holiday, according to the teacher in the classroom, through an arts and crafts activity, and they will be taught in other ways, according to the teacher. The Christians who showed up to protest warned that Christianity was being sidelined in the United Kingdom. One parent said, "When I was in school, Christianity was very much a part of it. I and many others believe that a foundation in Christianity is really good for children and society. Christians are fed up of being pushed out and being called names." Nikki Cantani, leader of the UK Independence Party, who also spoke at the protest, reportedly said, "We are saying that Christianity is being put to the side so that head teachers can tick a diversity box to receive more money." A handful of parents stood nearby and held a counter-protest in support of the school and the head teacher. Look, they're woke people all around the world, and this is the kind of stuff that the American people stood up against last November by electing Donald Trump. And look, we still have some of it in the United States, but we're slowly but surely wiping this out as we should. Did you see the news over the weekend? For those of you who caught part of the Mike Gallagher show on Friday, I was hosting again. I hosted all last week. Had a great time doing that while Mike was on vacation for his birthday, his 65th birthday. But he had quite the ordeal of getting back home. He was on an international flight that was headed into Atlanta. It was diverted because of weather to Montgomery, Alabama. He ended up staying on the plane itself, on the tarmac at Montgomery, Alabama airport, because it's a smaller regional airport. It's not an international airport. There's no customs there, so they would not let them off of the plane for 7.5 hours. They ran out of food. They ran out of water. The restroom stopped working. As you can imagine, it was mass bedlam. Eventually, they were allowed out of the airplane at about 5 a.m. Friday morning, and they were escorted into a contained area where they had other security guards there to guard them, to keep them from going in other areas of the airport. They eventually made it on to Atlanta later Friday morning. It turned into an ordeal. Well, it made the news. It made international news, actually, as Fox News, the Daily Wire, the Daily Mail, USA Today, People Magazine, a lot of places, all the networks were covering the fact that there's about 300 passengers total. And it wasn't just Gallagher's flight. There was one other flight that was in the same situation, again, another international flight. In a statement that Delta Airlines released, they said, flight crews always looking to ensure the safety of all Delta customers and people selected Montgomery, Alabama for a diversion point and plan to continue to Atlanta once inclement weather cleared. Because the regional airport lacked U.S. customs, they were not able to disembark from the aircraft initially. The spokesperson said flights from international points of origin must arrive at an airport customs and border protection staffing and facilities for processing. This was not possible until early Friday morning when a special accommodations was reached with Montgomery airport officials. Mike said that they actually talked about having some border customs and border staffing drive from Atlanta to be there to help accommodate them. I can't imagine sitting on an airplane for 7.5 hours, and especially once they ran out of food. I mean, and even when they got into the terminal, Mike said that they only gave them snacks. Wow. Delta says that they're going to give them full refunds. I think they owe them full refunds plus maybe another free trip somewhere. What do you think? I mean, there is a Department of Transportation regulation that was put into place a few years ago when this happened a number of times. And it says that airlines cannot keep you on an airplane for more than 3 hours in a domestic flight situation and 4 hours for an international flight situation. So they passed this by almost 4 hours. What do you think is the appropriate response from Delta? Now, again, they're saying that they're going to give them full refunds, but isn't it more than just a refund, just giving them their money back on that flight? Delta says that they are going to be contacting each individual passenger to talk with them so that they can better improve how they could handle this if, in fact, this were to happen again. Would you be happy with just a refund, or are you going to want a little something extra? Text me, email me, joe@joeyhudson.com. Continuing today's show, Arizona, they have 15 counties now that are officially verifying and removing non-citizens from their voter rolls, following a legal push that targeted nearly 50,000 registered voters who did not provide proof of U.S. citizenship. Now, you may recall this. It made headlines at the time when we found out that because of some new laws in Arizona, they were not requiring voters to provide proof of U.S. citizenship at the time they were registering. So there was suspicion that a number of potentially non-citizens who were registering to vote in Arizona. The America First Legal group they decided they were going to challenge this, thank goodness. And as a result of their lawsuit, which they won, by the way, they filed it on behalf of a conservative group, ezaz.org, and a naturalized citizen named Yvonne Cahill. The lawsuit claimed that Arizona counties weren't complying with a state law that requires proof of citizenship to vote in state and local elections and mandates monthly checks to ensure only citizens are on the rolls. In other words, you got to trust and verify. AFL Senior Counsel James Rogers said this settlement is a great result for all people in Arizona. Even though a 2013 Supreme Court decision blocked states from demanding more than the federal standard, which only requires voters to check a box affirming citizenship, Arizona still requires actual proof of citizenship to vote in state and local elections. People who can't provide it are designated as federal-only voters, meaning they can vote only in federal races like president or Congress. And that's what we have to change next. That's what we have to fix. That's what President Trump, I don't know if he could accomplish that with an executive order. I suspect it has to have action of Congress. But there's no reason why people who are voting in federal elections should not be held to the same accountability. That they should be forced to show, to demonstrate, to prove that they are American citizens. According to AFL, counties hadn't been doing enough to verify whether people were on the federal-only list or and were actually U.S. citizens or on the list that could vote in local and state elections. The lawsuit argued that counties were ignoring tools they had, like access to Department of Homeland Security databases, to confirm citizenship. As a result of the legal action, all 15 counties are now working with DHS to do just that. Now, it shouldn't have taken a lawsuit to force them to do this. I mean, you would have thought that some nice state bureaucrat in Arizona would have thought enough of their own elections to do this on their own. But like so many things that we're being confronted with these days, common sense doesn't always prevail unless you take them to court, unless you sue them. For those who are on the rolls and are found to be citizens, they'll be moved over to the regular voter list and allowed to participate in all elections. Non-citizens will be removed from the rolls altogether, as they should be. Mr. Rogers said this will help county recorders find and remove any aliens on their voter rolls. It will also potentially enfranchise federal-only voters whose citizenship is confirmed, which would allow them to vote in state and local elections. It's a big moment in Arizona, where election integrity has been a hot-button issue for years now, and with the 2026 election cycle getting heated up, you can expect a lot more of this around the country. President Donald Trump signed a new memorandum on Friday giving the U.S. military direct control over a strip of federal land along the southern border. It's aimed to boost efforts to stop illegal immigration. It's down considerably, as you know, but we have to stop it completely. The memo, titled Military Mission for Sealing the Southern Border of the United States and Repelling Invasions, authorizes the Department of Defense to take over the Roosevelt Reservation, which is a 60-foot wide zone of federal land that runs along parts of the U.S.-Mexico border in California, Arizona, and New Mexico. This will allow military forces to conduct border security operations in the area, which could include building barriers and installing surveillance equipment. Maybe a wall, too? Who knows? The order specifically excludes any federal Indian reservations, but hands over jurisdiction of other designated lands from the Interior, Agriculture, and Homeland Security Departments to the Pentagon. Trump's memo emphasized the seriousness of the situation, calling the southern border under attack from a variety of threats. He wrote that the military must now play a more direct role than in recent years to protect national security. Originally, this was set aside by President Theodore Roosevelt in 1907 to help maintain control and visibility along the international boundary. The Roosevelt Reservation has long existed as a legal buffer zone. Trump's directive now designates part of it as a formal military installations or national defense area, which gives the military new authority to carry out defensive operations on that strip of land. The Defense Secretary will decide what actions are reasonably necessary to carry out the mission, according to the memo. That could mean increased surveillance. It could mean fortification of walls that are already there. It could mean deployment of personnel and resources all along the terrain. Whatever our U.S. military has to offer, they can use along that area to protect our borders, to protect us from being invaded or the invasion to continue. The directive comes, of course, at a time when the administration continues to ramp up enforcement, to redefine the role of the military in domestic immigration control, and it signals a deeper involvement of armed forces at the southern border. And why not? I've never completely understood why we would not have our military at the border to protect the invasion. I mean, that's what they're doing, right? We're being invaded at the southern border. Why not use our military to stop it? The reason we haven't is because Joe Biden didn't want to. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, they didn't care that people were coming into the border. Donald Trump, it's a whole different ballgame. And he's going to use whatever tools he has at his disposal to stop whatever is left of the bleeding. And again, it's down considerably. And kudos to Trump for doing so. But we have to eliminate it completely. Absolutely. Plug all the holes along that border, and if our military can help do that, I'm all for it. What about you? In more tariff news, there's been some confusion since with all the debate about the tariffs, what it's going to affect, what it's not going to affect. Last week, at one point, it appeared that certain items from China might be exempt. For example, iPhones and other Chinese devices similar to iPhones, technology, you might say. And it appeared that these were going to be exempt because soon after the tariffs were announced, you started to see all these stories about a $2,300 iPhone. And that seemed to get a lot of people's attention because a lot of us have iPhones. I have one myself. Well, Trump said on Truth Social yesterday, nobody, in all caps, bold letters, is getting off the hook. There was no tariff exception announced on Friday. These products are subject to the existing 20% fentanyl tariffs, and they are just moving to a different tariff bucket. He said, we are taking a look at semiconductors and the whole electronic supply chain in the upcoming national security tariff investigations. So here's what happened. Late in the day on Friday, Trump's team filed a rule that exempted a myriad of electronic devices from the president's reciprocal tariffs on Chinese imports to the U.S. The ruling appeared to grant a reprieve for Apple and other consumer electronics makers who were facing tariffs of up to 145%. More than 80% of Apple products are assembled in China. This according to data from Evercore ISI. Apple CEO Tim Cook has courted close relationships with Trump amid the tariff push to try to get some exemptions. Even before Trump upped the ante on China, experts were saying that top iPhone models could cost at least $2,300. This had a lot of people panicking. Prior to Trump's clarification yesterday, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick publicly explained that electronics being imported from China will soon face their own unique tariff. He said, so what he's doing is he's saying that they're exempt from reciprocal tariffs, but they're included in the semiconductor tariffs, which are coming in probably a month or two. So these are coming soon, Lutnick told ABC News this week yesterday. Last Wednesday, as Trump's suite of customized reciprocal tariffs rates were set to go into effect, he gave a 90-day pause for certain countries. This is kind of when things got confusing, because this is when some people started thinking about or talking about the semiconductor exemptions, thinking that this would cover China. It's not going to. We still could end up paying $2,300 for an iPhone because there's still going to be some additional tariffs or increased tariffs on semiconductors and other electronics from China. So I'm sorry to be a bearer of bad news if you're concerned about paying $2,300 for an iPhone. Maybe hold on to the one you have for a while until this passes, because it too shall pass. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Firmin Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Firmin Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Firmin Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Firmin, Matthew Firmin. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Firmin Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Firmin Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Firmin Ford online at firminford.com, firminford.com. Wrapping up another show today, did you happen to catch the Masters yesterday? The 2025 Masters, it had truly an electric finish as the leaderboard entered the final round with all eyes focused on the customary green jacket, of course. It's the first major championship of the year if you follow golf. If you don't, a lot of people still love the Masters, even for people who don't necessarily consider themselves golf fans, because just watching the beauty. Plus, it sort of symbolizes Easter with all of the azaleas and the blooming flowers. The grounds are beautiful in Augusta. If you ever have the opportunity to go. It is a blessing to see God's beauty around that golf course. Tickets are hard to get. In fact, they're almost impossible to get, and they're very expensive. But if you have a chance to go, be sure and go. This was the 89th playing of the tournament, and boy, is there a lot of money involved. The Masters announced on Saturday that it had a record $21 million purse that would be divided among 53 players who had made the cut and who played over the weekend at Augusta National. A record $4.2 million was awarded to the 2025 champion, which, by the way, was Rory McIlroy. And that completed the Grand Slam for him. That was the fourth of the major. It had been a tournament that has eluded McIlroy. He has come close a number of times and choked. And he almost did yesterday. I mean, that's why it was such an exciting finish, because Rory at one point had like a four-stroke lead. Then he had a couple of bad holes, a couple of bogeys. Hit one in the water, which is just unheard of after he had done a safe layup. Then he just chipped it into the water. Kind of looked like one of my shots. But anyway, it was a great tournament. Peg and I and Jesse and Simon were glued to the TV as it came down to the wire. All Rory had to do was make what appeared to be a fairly easy putt. He missed it by an inch, sent it into playoffs, and with Justin Rose. So they did one playoff hole, and Roy was able to win it with that. Guess what he won? $4.2 million. Look, second place wasn't bad. Justin Rose went home with $2.2 million. Third place, $1.4 million. Fourth place, just over $1 million. Fifth place, $840,000. Sixth, $756,000. Seventh, $703,000. Eighth, $651,000. Ninth, $609,000. 10th, $567,000, and on down the road. The Masters is the only tournament that I know of that pays you even if you lost. Pays you very handsomely. Even people players who did not make it into the weekend, who didn't make the cut on Friday, every person who played got a $25,000 check, whether you played over the weekend or not. The 50th place person or the 50th place player in the weekend got $52,920. That's a pretty good weekend of golf, isn't it? Wow. The federal government launched a new tool that basically is going to give regular people like you and me a say in cutting government red tape. Here's the story. Earlier in the month, the Department of Government Efficiency, yes, another initiative of Elon Musk, known as DOGE, teamed up with the Office of Management and Budget and the General Services Administration to roll out a new feature on regulations.gov. It's a deregulation module where Americans can submit suggestions for rules they think should be scrapped. So keep that in mind. Regulations.gov. If you forget it, just email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. You can text me. You can also leave me a message on the MyPillow message line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Always use promo code Joey when you go to MyPillow.com, and you'll get the very best savings. Those Giza Dream Sheets are still heavily discounted. You're going to get the wholesale price because the big box stores canceled their order again this spring, so you're going to get a huge savings. Just an example, when you go to MyPillow.com, use promo code Joey. The Giza Dream Sheets, normally $139.98. You're going to get them at the wholesale price of $69.98 for a queen set. A king size, only $79.99. So MyPillow.com or call 800-893-4059. So this, according to the White House, this, of course, is all about transparency and putting people ahead of the bureaucracy. That's kind of refreshing, isn't it? DOGE is combining the administration's goals of adding transparency, slashing waste, fraud, and abuse by offering the American people the unique opportunity to recommend more deregulatory actions, according to spokeswoman Taylor Rogers. DOGE was created as a high-powered task force led by Elon Musk, and boy, have they done some great things so far, and they're just getting warmed up. This is probably one of the most exciting things I've heard, though, and they've done some exciting things. But to actually have a way that you and I can go online, and if there's a regulation or some red tape that we think should be either eliminated or streamlined, and to be able to have an outlet that we can go to and suggest this be eliminated, that's government by the people, isn't it? Of course, under Musk's leadership, DOGE has not only been focused on cutting costs and staff, but is quietly reviewing which regulations could go on the chopping block. Back in February, President Trump directed agencies and DOGE to take a hard look at current rules and to figure out what could go. What do we not need? If there's a regulation, someone's going to need to justify it. Last week, he signed a memo, the president did, fast-tracking the process by allowing some regulations to be removed without the usual public notice and comment period, a process that can take a year or more. And that's a regulation in itself that needs to go away, right? To delay taking action, to have hearings and a public comment period. Look, if a agency head, if a cabinet secretary sees a regulation that is preventing their agency from being effective, they should be able to eliminate it right away. Don't you agree? Shouldn't have to be a public hearing. Shouldn't have to have all these notices filed in the Federal Register. Just eliminate it. Cut it out. Now, with the new online portal, and it's live now, anyone can flag a regulation that they think is unnecessary. The site prompts users to identify where the rule comes from and explain why it should be eliminated. So go to the site, check it out. Maybe you're in a particular industry. Maybe you work for the federal government. Go to regulations.gov, and you'll see in the menu an area where you can check it and go to this deregulation module and submit your suggestions. The whole effort is part of Trump and Musk's broader plan to streamline government, to give government back to the people, to give us a voice in how it's run. Whether it leads to real change, we'll see. But look, it's not going to hurt anything, is it? We certainly just can't keep doing what we've been doing. A lot of people have been very critical of Elon Musk because he's not a federal employee. Well, so what? Do you care that Elon Musk is not a federal employee? I don't. I just like what he's doing. And if he can get the job done, if he can cut the size of our government and get us out of the mess we're in, I'm all for it. Good for him. Again, that website is regulations.gov, or just email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.